The new Crisis Core is a remake of a PSP game of a prequel to a PS1 game. And because of that, it's kind of complicated. The story's good, but it very much depends on you having played the original PS1 game, and not the remake, because it's a different story as a remake, but the original PS1 game, to really be able to follow what the heck is going on. And if you hadn't played the original game, I don't really think you get that invested in the story or characters, because they throw a lot of words around that they expect you to know that you wouldn't, and just like, why is it any of this of any importance? And the constant, references and Easter eggs to a variety of our characters would just go right over your head. So, I'm going to do a little bit of time to talk about the combat system, because the combat system's not great. The combat system for the story is pretty serviceable. Like, I did almost half of the missions, and I think the mission I'm going to do now to show off the combat system will actually get me to 50% exactly, because there's about 300 missions to complete, and I think it took up the bulk of my playtime, which took me about 20 hours to finish the whole thing. But let's get into the combat so we can start showing you what the problem is. You're only a single party member. You've got a very small pool of equipment to be able to put on at one time. You've got 6 slots for your abilities and 4 slots for accessories, which you only unlock over time because you start off with a lot less.
Activating combat mode.
And combat is either incredibly simple or incredibly complicated and murders you instantly. So these guys are about the level I'm supposed to be at, so it should be a relatively fair fight. But I want to talk about the slot system that's in the top left hand corner here. So the equipment I have 6 slots, and I'm going to take a bunch of hits here because I'm mostly talking and not actually paying attention to what I'm doing. Those numbers that pop up on the left there will activate a variety of things that happen during combat. The 6 materia slots I have equipped correspond to the numbers 1 to 6 in that little rower. So if the numbers line up a pair and the pictures match up as well, the materia you have equipped levels up, which makes it stronger, which relies on you running around in combat or being involved in combat for about as long as I've been talking for them to actually start matching up, which, as you can see, doesn't happen that often. Now, the other thing is, depending on how you built your character, combat can be over in a matter of seconds. I'm going to show you now what happens for like 95% of the missions that I've been on, is that my character was overpowered or unable to play the game at all. Let's get into another random encounter here and not fight the regular boss if we can. This mission's pretty short. A lot of the missions are incredibly short, but because there are 300 of them, it still pads out playtime by a massive amount. Right, this is the main objective, is fighting this guy, and I'm just going to go bomb, bomb, bomb. And as you can see, he's dead before the slot machine gets even a single roll of the dice. So none of my materia leveled up. I did get a materia from the chest, I did get an accessory from completing the mission, and that should be 50% of the missions completed, which will get me a nice little trophy too. Yep. Mission completed, 50% trophy, good job mate. So, your character levels up through the slot machine system. You don't see how much XP you've got, like I don't have a status screen apart from the thing in the bottom right there to show me how many XP I've got towards leveling up to improve my stats. Your stats go up based on the accessory slots you've got. Like I've got an accessory giving me vitality plus 80, my regular vitality would be 55 without that. And the materia you have can have stat boosts as well, which can often be as much as or more than the stuff you can actually equip. Like if I equip the best HP plus thing I've got, it's plus 40%, which is pretty meaningless. My magic, well, my HP up materia has got 330%, which is way, way better than that. The problem is that the materia you're getting from these missions, the new materia you're getting, is stuff like Spirit plus 1, Magic plus 2. To improve them, you have to have them equipped and have to have them level up in battles, and then once you get them mastered or close to mastered, you can fuse them together to get better bonuses. So like if I want to improve my Spirit, say, I've got a Courage here, it's got plus 16, I can find another magic material that's got plus the Spirits, it's plus 10, and the result will have half of the bonus of the smaller number. I can also add items to make that number go up more, but those items are hard to come by, and very, very rare. Like I can add another 2 mithril that I've got spare to add a little bit of more spirit to that. So I can add about 7 spirit to that with a fusion, after having almost mastered 2 of those materia, which relies on you standing around in battle, waiting on things to happen. So, missions then either boil down to you're overpowered for them because things die instantly and you can't make yourself more powerful because your materia isn't leveling up because you're spending no time in combat, or you're doing things like the right line missions I have here, which I've had to give up on, where enemies have 700,000 HP and can kill you in a single hit. There's very little balance to the entire game. Like, if you go through and watch the streams I did of me playing through it, there were regularly times where I'd have like missions that were just simply too hard, that would kill me in a single try, that I could not physically beat, even playing in like a Dark Souls battle of not getting hit by a single thing, because a single mistake would end the entire one. And that's frustrating. Like, the method you use to upgrade your character to become stronger, it's very obtuse, very unclear. Like, I have no idea what missions I'd want to try and redo to go back to try and get hold of material, because you don't get the rewards for doing them again. Like, if I wanted to get more hero drinks to improve my health, I can't do this mission over and over again because you don't get the same rewards. So it kind of necessitates following a guide to try and get yourself to the point where you could do the optional super boss content, and as a result, I just don't want to do any of that. It's just not any fun. So the combat is kind of just serviceable and there to get you through the story. The story is good. The music's excellent throughout, which does help with the the repetitive combat nature. And voice acting is perfectly good and fine. The characters are well written. All of it boils down to it's fine. If you haven't played Final Fantasy VII, you're not going to get anything out of this. Not for the story. And the combat system is serviceable, but not fun enough to make you want to play it for the combat. And now that I've finished the story, I have absolutely no interest in going through the remaining missions that have opened up to do, because they're all just spawning into a map, and it's always the same maps. It's always the same maps. Like, if I go to here, I think this is exactly the same place I just at. No, this one's the caves. But I'll show you the map here. They basically just use the same maps and spawn you at a different location and cut off a bit of the map with their barrier to stop you from going past it. And they reuse the same maps over and over again. Like, every single mission that's inside a cave is inside this cave, or it's inside a different quarry, or it's inside a mine. I think there's maybe 7 actual maps you do. And I did 150 missions on all these kinds of maps, so it gets real tiring real quick. Maybe that's where they got the inspiration for Dragon Age 2 to keep using the same maps for Dungeon all the time. So yeah, I can't really recommend Crisis Core unless you've already played Final Fantasy VII, and if you have and you liked it, you've probably already picked this up over Christmas and got it. I'm sure someday will go into some sort of subscription. You can give it a shot then. If you just do the main story and don't worry about the other stuff, like, it is maybe 20 hours to do. Like, I spent at least 10 hours doing 150 missions for very little reward, so you could probably do it a lot faster than I did. But yeah, I can't really recommend it, which is a shame. It's a game that I feel deserves a proper remake as opposed to just a remaster. Like, the fact that there's loading times going into and out of missions at all for a PS5 game, it's a quick loading screen, but the fact that it even exists, or there's loading screens for going from zone to zone, like, that's just kind of crazy. Like, this should be a seamless environment. And the environments, while, upscaled a bit, they're not exactly the nicest things to look at. So, that's everything I've got to say. It's okay, it's fine, it's serviceable. I didn't really enjoy playing that much of it. I mostly played it for the story, because the story was good. So, I've waffled on a lot.